Hi everyone, and thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Stony, for the kind introduction. Is that good? And for creating this incredible program and organizing all of these events. It's been really lovely to participate in this residency and the community of Crafted. I've thoroughly enjoyed connecting with the other artists and residents, along with the home resource community. Thank you, Carly, and the home resource staff for all of your help and generosity. The atmosphere, the people, and the incredible materials you have in this space have been amazing to have access to. I could spend many, many months exploring the nooks and crannies as new treasures seem to surface daily. And lastly, I would like to thank my father and my brother for their woodworking expertise, Molly for her assistance today, Michael for his photography, Trey and Ben for their woodshop assistance, in particular with the table saw, which I will never get used to. And thank you to the other artists and residents for the wonderful conversations, exchange of ideas, and many delicious meals we've shared together. So thank you. In Montana, on the lands of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes as a Flathead reservation. This environment instilled a deep appreciation for handwork and craft practices, and it also instigated my questioning of body politics and white privilege, capitalistic patriarchy, the systems and cultural norms we reside in, and the psychosocial landscapes that result. My path as a maker began in fashion and garment construction. After graduating from the University of Montana, I moved to Portland, Oregon, and met a small group of artists and designers who were forming a collective that I was very excited to join. The collective focused on conceptual garments and fashion shows, and for a number of years, we assisted each other in acquiring and trading skills, promoting our shows, selling our work, and collaborating with a variety of Portland-based artists. Eventually, I started an independent label and small business in which I produced collections and custom-made garments for both an online and brick-and-mortar shop. My garments tended to be sculptural with a focus on structure, shapes, textures, and ornate details. And I was always fascinated with clothing that wears the wearer. I was exploring clothing as a type of armor and as a way of giving the wearer active participation in the narratives that we are endlessly creating, both kind of consciously and unconsciously, about bodies. Through this experience, I became increasingly interested in feminism and who has access to comfort and who our objects and worlds are designed for. I'm interested in what we orient towards or turn away from and why, and who is able to spread into space with ease and who is made acutely aware of the surface of their body in relation to the social skin. One of my favorite thinkers and writers, Sarah Ahmed, writes, "Norms surface as the surfaces of bodies. How bodies work and are worked upon shapes the surfaces of bodies." She continues, "Rather, it is through emotions or how we respond to objects and others that surfaces or boundaries are made. The I and the we are shaped by and even take the shape of contact with others." So after running my business for a number of years, I decided to pursue graduate studies in fiber, and my practice shifted towards weaving and soft sculptural objects. I've continued to work predominantly with cloth, thread, and tailoring techniques. However, I now construct these sort of hybrid body machine-like objects and compositions to question the systems, norms, and networks that entangle us. These composite creatures, as I like to call them, symbolize collections of feelings and integrate diverse surfaces, textures, and shapes. Softness is combined with structure to inspect stereotypes regarding nurturing and malleability, as well as to analyze vulnerability and the psychosocial spaces between comfort and discomfort. I am drawn to spiritualist artists like Hilma af Klint and Matthew Rene, and their use of abstraction as a way to explore communication, exchanges, and relations that occur outside of language. Donna Haraway, another favorite writer, writes, "Abstraction can be used as a lure or that to which one is drawn in a movement or affective pressure of desire. And abstraction holds together the components of a question or the problems of a world. It is a lure for a promise of a fragile and mortal coherence, or perhaps of possibility that something else might be activated." During grad school, my research focused mostly on affect theory, which is essentially the study of the visceral forces or intensities that are outside of language and are often unconscious, yet moving between bodies and spaces. They accumulate and impress upon and shape our bodies and worlds. So I began to question what the structures of feelings and what the embodied systems of affect might look like. What somatic surfaces and armors result from these systems. This research resulted in creating sculptures that were assemblages of materials both familiar and unfamiliar, found and handcrafted, as an attempt to highlight these visceral forces that circulate and influence our cultural norms and beliefs. I began using more found objects and creating alternative types of arrangements, and the objects became increasingly interconnected relational type units. The parts and pieces would converge and interchange, support and attach, and the relationships between each part of the compositions was highlighted. Autonomous action and individuality are countered, and my surrealist intermixtures signified reconfigured social machineries that attempt to reveal and reframe the often obscure and overlooked. So I was drawn to studying fiber and craft for the discourse that tends to surround these mediums. Textile processes historically have been relegated to women and marginalized bodies, and the field of fiber has a long history rooted in works about feminism, queer theory, the colonization of craft, and labor politics. Fiber art often focuses on topics of care work, maintenance, emotional labor, and a reimagining of our worlds. And I felt a connection to the many incredible works and discussions situated around this medium. Additionally, there is an emphasis in craft on somatic knowledge or knowledge of the body that I find quite compelling. I think the systems we inhabit often promote living in a pretty disembodied way, and I think this disconnect from our body and our feelings is one of the many mechanisms that limits our imagination and kind of keeps us embedded in these systems that cause harm. I'm very interested in embodied tacit knowledge that is inherent in craft traditions. Process is integral to my practice. I investigate the rich and nuanced languages of fibrous tissues, the resiliency and agility, the vividness and everydayness, the interlacings and unravelings, and the softness embedded within the structures. Cycling through somatic knowledge and embodied feedback, the liveliness that flows between materials, hands, bodies, and spaces becomes activated, and new ways of seeing and perceiving are discovered. Appealing to the senses through tactility and materiality, relational exchanges and connectivity are encouraged between my intermingling structures and various kinds of bodies. Textures are deeply embedded in my processes and praxis. Surface shifts and interruptions, dimensionality, and eclectic patterning are used as invitations to approach and touch, promoting engagement between commingling bodies, objects, and feelings. I tend to be a very intuitive maker. I never quite know what the final result will be. I don't draw or draft exacting patterns, and I continually make adjustments as I proceed and just sort of let one component organically lead to the next. I'm interested in the relationships between the various components and objects and what unfolds between them. So these interrelated composite sculptures that I was creating during grad school tended to either hang on a wall or sit on a pedestal, and I was looking for a way to move away from pedestals in hopes of making them feel less static and more like interconnected bodies and systems. At this time, I was thinking a lot about support structures and who is asked to support, carry, maintain, and attend to, and why. I was reading some work by a philosopher named Kate Mann, and she coined a term called asymmetrical moral support, which talks about the ways diverse sets of women are expected to provide nurturing, comfort, care, and various types of emotional and reproductive labor. I was also began thinking about dollies as an alternative structure to pedestals, and then discovered that the word originated as a derogatory term for female prostitutes and servants, and eventually came to mean these sort of overlooked everyday objects and devices that carry our stuff. So I started a series based on these dollies, and in the back here are the 5 most recent additions that I have finished and made during this residency. I was really excited to continue this work here at Home Resource, as they had the most amazing dolly community I have ever encountered. And so I was thrilled to be able to do this installation, mixing their dollies with the ones I've made. Additionally, I found many wonderful materials here to craft the dollies from, including but not limited to flooring, hardware, wood, paint, wheels, gutter pipes, light switches, handles, towel and toilet paper racks. And I invite you to take a look, and if you have any questions about the materials, techniques, or ideas circulating through my research, I'm happy to answer them. And I guess I would just like to end with a quote from some books I've been reading by Adrienne Marie Brown that I've been thinking about. And she writes, "We are in an imagination battle. This is a time travel exercise for the heart. This is collaborative ideation. What are the ideas that will liberate us all?" So thank you. And I think I'm just going to wrap up. And I know it's hot out here. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I hope you enjoy the work. Thanks for coming.